Morning all. Wonderful news for Muswell Hill Chess Club, and in particular Alex Ethelontis. He crushed Simon Ansell. Well, not crushed, but he won anyway, against a 2-4-2-7 international master, Simon Ansell, who, as you know, really crushed me when Hackney visited Muswell Hill Chess Club. But last night was different. On Hackney's home turf, they managed to lose again to Muswell Hill as well. They lost the match too. So here is the board one clash. Alex playing white, kicked off with c4, his favourite English opening. Simon Ansell plays the opening in a very aggressive manner, as though he would be going straight for white's king, as white castles on the king side. But he was in for a little bit of a surprise. After f5, we have here kind of classical Dutch defence strategy with just knight f6, bishop e7, and then maybe later castling and bringing the queen out very aggressively to h5. So Alex is aware of this, but he still plays d4 anyway, trying to encourage these pawns to become fixed so he can get the f4 square. However, this tension is kept now with this move, bishop e7, offering the exchange of queens, which would only favour, I think, black here, resolving that tension. So knight c3, knight f6, and now e3. White has a very pleasant looking position at this point in the game. Simon now castles. After knight ge2, we see queen e8. So this routine kind of mechanical attack seemingly playing itself with the queen coming to h5. But will Alex castle kingside? That's the big question. Well, he delays castling, in fact, with his next move. He plays b3. And now we see knight c6. And now bishop b2. As if maybe the queen is going to be moved somewhere. And then the king could actually castle queenside in theory. So, Simon is preempting that. He's not posting his queen to h5 just yet. He reacts to say, if you castle queenside, you'll still be attacked. So a6, playing b5, maybe rip open the a file. Queen d2, and now we see the move king h8. So king h8, what does it do? That's a good question. King h8. Maybe the bishop can no, I have no idea. So white castled queenside, we'll find out. Rook b8, as though b5 is going to be a move. Now knight d5. Maybe the point is that the king was a bit exposed on this diagonal potentially for knight d5s, so it was a bit of prophylaxis on Simon's part. That's my speculation at the moment anyway. So bishop d8, and now the knight on d5 is reinforced, knight ec3. But now this seemingly potentially dangerous attack, b5. But Alex seizes control of this file strategically. He takes on b5. Then he takes on f6, and then he puts his knight back on d5. Very strong knight, supported by the bishop on g2. So white's doing fine at the moment, but now there's this strategic break from black, f4. So the whole pawn chain's really under fire here, but at least d4 is also reinforced by this bishop. So this is still potentially, it looks reasonable for white, this position. In fact, let's get a Houdini evaluation here at this moment. Oh, it's actually slightly better for black, minus 0.13 here. So if we go rewind actually, so here in this position, it seems castling queenside is a bit risky. The actual engine prefers castling with no fear about an attack on the king side. So it seems this gives theoretically black almost equality or even slightly better. But that's what engines think. I think it's a very exciting game with both sides casting on the other sides of each other. So we see f4, and it takes on f4 with the e pawn. Now bishop f5 check, and you see now the dangers that white faces. This a file is potentially dangerous now. a2. So this is quite dangerous. Bishop d4, giving up that valuable bishop. Maybe there's better with knight e3, but engines, they show no fear about attacks. Although it defends c2, it seems a little bit passive and leaving that monstrous, knight on d4. So the tension resolved with bishop d4. Now rook he1, And now bishop e4, trying to neutralise one of black's best pieces. Here though, it seems there's a problem, a technical problem with this knight. Houdini believes black could have been much better if black had taken on e4 and just tried to win that knight with c6 now. The problem is, the only square for the knight is the b4 square, and after knight b4 there's either c5 or bishop a5. c5 or bishop a5 looks strong. Now if c5, if the knight were turned back, then queen f5, and now this knight really is trapped. And if the knight, say, goes back, then bishop f6, and black's, got c4 in the offering. It's a very dangerous position because of that knight on d5 basically. But this wasn't cottoned onto, this knight on d5. Instead, it seems that Simon went astray. Well, he allowed c6, which gives a tactical opportunity to white here. Alex took on f5, and now the back row is slightly exposed. So queen e2, threatening queen e8. So the knight's actually immune here now. Rook f8, and now a square is in effect given to the knight, knight e7. But here you see black also could try rook b7, and the knight again is kind of stranded, and it would actually be forced to sacrifice itself here, which can't be too good. Black's clearly better there. But Simon went astray again with another inaccuracy, bishop a5, as if he wanted to go for white's king instead of simply winning a piece. And Alex was in with a shot now. He played queen e6. After queen c7, rook e4. So he's ganging up on that d4 pawn. Check. Rook b e8. Now f5. So the knight can't be attacked again because of knight g6 check, winning the rook on e8. But here rook e7. So an exchange sacrifice. But now the pressure is starting to be neutralized. f4, cutting off that rook on the f file. Rook e6, targeting black's pawns now, and white is now better by a pawn according to Houdini, at least a pawn. So Alex is well back in the game. But are there going to be technical issues which need to be extinguished? He blockades, lovely blockade on that pawn. And now, to simplify the situation actually, after d5, he plays what Houdini believes is the best move. Give back the exchange with advantage. Rook takes d4. So we have now rook and pawn ending, with black's pawns being quite committed and that c5 being now a weakness. So at the moment it's totally equal on pawns. So how could Alex possibly beat an IM 2427 from this position? Well, after h4, Alex got a very aggressive king now. He takes on h4, he brings his king to c5, and all of these pawns are being targeted. So king takes c6, exchange of prisoners there, but now rook takes d5, and look, black's being mopped up on the queen side, leaving white with a dangerous passed outside pawn. So king b5, snapping that pawn, creating a dangerous passed b pawn. And now, after losing h4, which was a bit of an irrelevant pawn anyway, as they were doubled, those pawns, Alex plays rook d3, securing his extra pawn advantage. Check, and now rook h4. But now a beautiful move, herding the pawn forward, king a5, and this king is also cut off. So this is a wonderful opportunity now for Alex to simply convert his win. And after b5, in fact, I believe Simon Ansell resigned here. So this is the second IM in Alex's chess career that he's ever beaten. So he matches my score versus IM's now, because I've only beaten Kopek and Crouch. I share with Alex actually a victory over Colin Crouch. So congratulations Alex, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's look at your game in overview and summary. So wonderful stuff. You cheekily castled queenside, avoiding this stereotypical attack, but you gave yourself some issues. The engines actually prefer just castling kingside here. Let's have a quick look at this actually. Queen h5, knight d5. Maybe there shouldn't be anything to fear in this position. Take. You can still reinforce d5. Something to bear in mind anyway. These knight g4s, are they easily beaten off? That's the question. I think they might be, because the control of d5 is in white's favour here. f4 has to be kept under lock and key, but here, if there's pawns like this, and especially ready to pounce on that diagonal, this doesn't seem to be that much of an attack from black. But anyway, this cheeky decision to castle queenside paid off, I'm very happy to say. So b5, knight f6. Now black crept in to be a little bit better after this move f4, because this bishop got a lot of scope actually on f5, and having to give up the dark square bishop is a bit unfortunate. Bit of luck crept in here perhaps, that this knight managed to somehow escape and wasn't the focus of attack here. Instead, black wanted to go for the king and not the simple win here with rook b7. Okay, so bishop a5. Well, when I say simple, it looks as though white can't really escape with the knight. White has to play knight c6, and then queen e7 will happen. Sorry, if any other move, queen c7 will happen. Sorry, bishop e7 or queen e7. So it's amazing this happened, this blunder, but it's a very fast time control anyway in the North Circular League, so blunders do happen. But even here, I guess Simon thought he was still winning this position, because this dominating kind of bishop hovering over the king, but there's not much else to attack the king at the moment. Black would need, you know, a couple of moves at least to get the queen aggressive. But it's not happening here. In fact, here, queen a5, maybe there's knight g6 here. Is a knight g6 is actually a mate in 2. Wonderful stuff, Alex. I never noticed this first time round. If this is your idea against queen a5 to a3, that's beautiful. That there's actually a mate in 2 here. Knight g6 check, and then rook h4. Wonderful stuff. So your rook on e4, the magic of centralization, it could be restyled, that rook, in all directions to have purposes in multi-direction purpose once you got it to e4. Wonderful. Setting up knight g6. So this is what caused Simon perhaps to give up the exchange, and he had to say goodbye to his attacking opportunities. In fact, the king became a major player now in this reversal of values. For having to defend the king actually becomes a very active piece in the endgame. So wonderfully timed returning of the exchange, and wonderful creation of the outside pass b pawn. Superb game. Congratulations again. I hope you guys on YouTube enjoyed that, and I hope maybe Alex will join me with dual commentary pretty soon on some games, as well as my other bunny friends like Paul Georgiou, Kostas Karyonis, etc. Thanks very much.